I'm going to finish up here. We need to look to God's will. Look to God's will. How do we do that? The author here, Agur, he encourages his readers to look to God. And again, not just a faith figure, but he encourages the people to look to the God of Israel. And then he makes this interesting request that I want to unpack in closing here today. And I think it's really interesting what he says. First of all, we seek a relationship with God. How do you find God's will? You seek a relationship with him. Those of you who this is a very minuscule way to describe this, but those of you who have pets, okay? We have 3 dogs and a cat, okay? We're basically a PetSmart is what we are, or if not a 4-H. It's incredible. And my baby is my 100-plus pound bulldog, Caesar, and just a big old brute. But I can tell you, when I call his name, he knows it's me. He recognizes my voice. If one of you were to try, well, he loves Sue to death, and so he'll recognize Sue. But if most of you others were to try to call my dog, he'd be like, if you don't have food, we have nothing in common here. And he just leaves. And he goes to bed. But that response, that connection, you know how that comes? Through connection, through relationship, time spent together. Him being my dog now for the last 7 years or 8 years or so. And so, if you want to hear God's voice, if you want to hear, boy, aren't we like that? If we want to hear God's voice, that comes from relationship with him. Connection, deliberate connection with him. Here's verse 7. It says, 2 things I ask of you, Lord, do not refuse me before I die. So what's he doing? He is making a personal request now to the God of Israel. I highlighted this. God is personal, and he calls us to engage with him personally. Engage with him. You don't have to get all the words right, by the way. Just talk to him. He can handle your prayers. He can. Even if you're just gut level honest with him. You want gut level honest, read all the Psalms. David prayed some prayers that I would really think twice about praying. But God welcomes that honesty. He welcomes that personal part because that's what he wants. So have a relationship with him. Next, not only seek a relationship, seek the righteousness of God. Seek the righteousness of God. Look at, again, at verse 8, the first half. Keep falsehood and lies far from me. Let's stop there. He says, keep falsehood and lies far from me. So in the midst of all of this that he's going through, he is still asking God, please keep me righteous. Please keep me holy. May my life still be pleasing to you. So your bad time is not an excuse to let it go spiritually. Okay, your bad feelings are not an excuse for us, our bad feelings are not an excuse for us to open up the door for the enemy to come in and do some damage because we've allowed things into our lives, into our homes, into our relationship. We've allowed some things to come into our lives that are just extremely unhealthy. This is a vulnerable time, so set up some godly boundaries. And I see the author here saying that, God, I don't want any falsehood in me. I don't want any lies in me. I want to be righteous before you. And take a look at this quote. This is big. Righteousness without relationship is impossible. You want to live a righteous life, then stay close to Jesus. I've got a really, I got a good friend. And his closing statement to everybody whom he talks to, I think you know him, Wayne, Dr. Johnson. his closing statement is always this: stay close to Jesus. Stay close to Jesus. He tells that to ministers, and we need to hear it. Stay close to Jesus, because that's how righteousness takes place.